Welcome back to the City of Selma, and we have a program today that we want to talk about. I've got my fellow City Councilman here with me, Scott Robertson. He wants to talk about the Second Chance Animal Shelter.
Thank you, Mayor Gray. It's a privilege to be here and looking forward to talking a little bit more in depth about the Second Chance Animal Shelter today. We started a long time ago, actually. We started as the Selma Animal Shelter about 60 years ago. Out in a location that was, about 5 miles south of the city, which was really not visible to people.
Yeah. The story behind that, of how that space became the animal shelter, you want to give folks that trip?
I would love to. You know, these animal shelters often don't start as animal shelters. They're kind of repurposed.
Right.
We were talking about repurposed art before.
Yeah.
Well, this actually used to be, I think, part of the sewer district. This was a
Absolutely.
sewer plant.
Right.
And when SKF, the combination of the three cities' sanitation facility, came into being, there's this excess land, and the city said, "Oh my gosh, well, we'll use this as the dog pound," as they called it back then.
Absolutely.
The only problem with this, as became evident over the years, is it was too far out of town. The volunteers didn't feel safe out there. It was an open invitation for people to come chain their animals or throw them over the fences and do all sorts of cruel things to them. And it really outlived its usefulness.
You know, I think one of the telling things is years ago we all used to call this the dog pound, and it was really an impoundment of the animals. And now your facility is a shelter. So let's talk a little bit about the difference in that philosophy.
There really is. You know, before, when an animal would go into the shelter, the dog pound, as it was called, the number of days that were marked off were the number of days till the animal was euthanized. And really sad. And the condition out there was not great, because it was out of the city and it was maintained by the police department, and it was really something that they never asked for and was kind of foisted upon them. A number of citizens got together and said, with my wife Rose Robertson and I among them, and said, why don't we do this? Why don't we get a shelter together, and we'll get a nonprofit to run the place. And instead of marking off the days on the calendar to when the dogs get euthanized, we'll mark off the days on the calendar till the dogs get adopted.
Right.
It's really a difference in philosophy.
Absolutely. And it's been so productive in terms of turning around the thoughts of how we're handling our animals within the community, and also engaging citizens to come forward and help volunteer. What's that process? How do you get people involved in volunteering?
Well, what we've been doing is, since we opened technically on January 8th, we have our website, www.secondchanceanimalshelter.org, and the second is the number 2, not spelled. And we advertise there. We invite anybody who would like to volunteer to go on that website, fill out an application. It goes right back to our executive director, Sarah Trujillo. And from there, we'd ask that you come in and perform some volunteer hours. We have lots to do. That doesn't mean that if you don't fill out your application that you can't come volunteer. We'd love to have you. You can stop by, and you can do on-the-job training. You can come in and stop by, and Sarah or one of our staff will actually train you for 4 to 5 hours. What you'll learn is kind of how to handle the animals. You learn how to feed and water them. There's a lot of housekeeping to be done with animals. There's absolutely cleaning that has to be done. That's our number one mission, because that protects our population, our human population, from bacteria, and it protects our dogs, and it keeps the place smelling good, so we don't have our neighbors complaining about us, and we don't want that. We want to be good citizens.
Well, talking about neighbors, you have a beautiful new facility. Give us the background of how that came into being.
About 5 years ago, Scott Bailey of Cal Water asked the city if they would be interested in looking into a piece of land that Cal Water had right in the middle of the city where an old abandoned well site was. They had a well, they couldn't use it anymore, and as a result, the land was useless for them. They weren't using it, and they weren't going to sell it. So this came to that, and there was a lot of discussion, and finally in 2013, the discussions came to fruition. And the discussions became an actual lease agreement between the city of Selma and Cal Water. And, the terms were favorable because, neither party is really trying to get economic advantage out of it. It's really for this animal shelter to exist, which has been a problem for many, many years. The presence of animals in our city has been something that we have tried to work on for a very long time, and this was a key component to a solution of that. So Cal Water played a role in that, the city played a role in that, and then the nonprofit Second Chance Animal Shelter ended up being a sublessor or a sublessee of the land from the city. The only problem? We didn't have a building. We needed to build a building. That was the only thing that was missing.
I knew there was something missing.
So we had to find that, and we couldn't use city money. Times are tough. There's a drought. We've just come off the worst recession in many, many years, so we weren't going to go for public funds for that. So what we did was we asked a bunch of dog-friendly contractors and people out there, would you be interested in donating your time and your materials, or both, to put this building up? And it turns out that the city, 10 years before, had actually bought a metal building for use as a dog shelter. It was perfect, but they didn't have the land for it. So here we had our elements now. We had our building, we had our land. We just needed someone to put it up now and put the kennels in.
Great. So what kind of participation did you get for your people to come in and help put that up?
We got great participation. My gosh, we got so many big-hearted contractors out there, from Richard Herzog out of Clovis to his daughter or his sister Tracy, who did our plumbing. We had Mike Marigan and Madco Electric, the Montijos from Glacier Refrigeration, and I'm leaving a lot out. John Trujillo donated all the concrete. We had many, many contractors and warm-hearted folks that donated their time and materials to make this thing happen and to put up the building.
I'm willing to bet that they left some materials on the site but came away with a dog.
That was one of those things. They said we came and we left all the drywall, but we ended up with a new beagle. I can't believe it. What's going on here? So we had that took a while. That was probably, it's a metal building, and it's probably the longest 30-day project that's ever happened. Probably the 9-month, 30-day project. That's how the building went up.
It's always 30 days.
It was a really long 30 days.
Yeah.
And we're still working on it. We still have a number of capital projects. We got our building up, and when I said we started in January, we did. We officially opened in January, our main building with our kennels there. But Cal Water had a little building on the side there, a little building that, little metal frame building. And, well, darn it, in November there were 12 dogs that we needed to take in. So we've actually been taking care of dogs since November. My wife Rose and I took a shift. We had Sandy Nieswander take a shift during the day. Scott Bailey took the morning shift. And we did that every morning, every day from November until January, until we opened the main building. And so now we use that other little building as our intake building. So there's been a real evolution there.
Great. I've noticed that the property is actually kind of a park-like setting. There's redwood trees all around the perimeter, and there's some nice lawn. And when I've come by, I've seen people out walking the animals. So this is a process of not only the containment of the animals, but they need exercise.
Boy, isn't that the truth? And every day when we're cleaning, we take the dogs out. We've got 2 exercise yards. One of them is actually on the north end of the property, facing Floral, and cars that drive by can actually see the dogs running around there. And the other day, we had our first adoption from someone who said, I saw someone playing with that golden retriever, and I wanted that golden retriever.
Wow.
So they stopped in, and we've got another meet and greet area where a person can come in if they want to adopt or want to test their dog out with one of our dogs. They've got a great area to test them out with and to play with them.
Well, and I understand, wasn't it this last weekend that you had some special event?
We sure did. We had a shelter day, an adoption day on Saturday. We had free burgers. We had some generous person from the community, Ken Maxey, donated the money to buy the food, and we were able to actually give away some microchipping and also a free adoption. So it was a really great event. We had 100+ people come out from the community, and we are centrally located. We're right there off of Front Street. If you take the first exit, you will absolutely see it as you go to the railroad tracks. If you go to the railroad tracks off of Floral, you've gone too far. It's on your right as you come into Selma and you're going east.
Okay, so let's recap. How do people get in touch with Second Chance Animal Shelter?
Lots of ways to get in touch with Second Chance. You can email us at our email address, secondchanceanimalshelter@gmail.com, or preferably you can go on our Facebook page. You can communicate with us that way. You can give us a call at 896-7227, which spells SCAS, S-C-A-S, 896-SCAS. It doesn't get any easier than that. Or even come by and look at the dogs and make an appointment. And, even if our hours are Thursday 3 to 6, Friday 3 to 6, Saturday 9 to 5, and Sunday 12 to 4. However, we are always there cleaning, and we will always make an appointment if you want to come by and look at dogs.
So this program is supported by the public. If you can't take in a dog, come by and see what you can do to help out and support this wonderful program that's happening in Selma and the work that they do there. And with that, we want you to enjoy the advertisers that are supporting this program, and we appreciate your paying attention to what's happening in Selma and giving us a chance to talk about Second Chance Animal Shelter.
Thank you for the opportunity.
This